Hi, my name is David Griffith, and this is my story of the last 105 days. How fucked up it is, and the shit that I'm going through to end me now at being suspended from work. It's screwed up, it's messed up, and I'll let you be the judge of it. So, 105 days ago, I got hired at Taco Bell in Corvallis, Oregon. At that time, I was living at Albany Helping Hands in Albany, Oregon. I put in several applications, but none had called or anything for an interview. And one day, I was up in Corvallis. I got a call for an interview at Taco Bell. So, the ride that I was with, I had them drop me off at Taco Bell. The interview was at 11 o'clock. I arrived at about 10:45, and I sat around for 4 hours. The manager kept telling me that she was going to come, that she was on her way. For 4 hours, I sat in a Taco Bell that wasn't open yet. It was the day before it opened. Boxes everywhere in the dining room. And I sat there quietly for 4 hours waiting for the manager, who didn't actually give me my interview. It was the district manager who gave me my interview. And they hired me. I didn't start work until that Thursday. And so I went back to where I was living at Helping Hands and got myself ready to go to work. My mode of transportation for getting to and from work is, well, I could take the bus easily to get to work. Any day of the week, I could take a bus. But I wasn't going to be getting off work until like 1, 2 in the morning. So my mode of transportation was a Navic electric scooter that's top speed was 22 miles an hour. For the next 30 days, I literally went to work taking the Loop bus from Albany and then taking a Corvallis bus to drop me off right in front of work. That Thursday and Friday when I worked, I had been assigned dishes, so I was working in the dish pit. On Saturday when I woke up, my hands were swollen so bad that I ended up having to go to urgent care, and I got the next 4 days off because my hands were so swollen from being allergic to sanitizer. I discovered that on the way leaving Taco Bell to get to where I was living was 18.6 miles away. My scooter didn't do the full distance. It would only do about 13 to 14, up to 16 if I was lucky. And so I would have to stop someplace and charge for 2 or 3 hours to get enough power to make myself get home. Luckily, within the first week of me doing this, I ended up meeting a farmer who let me actually charge on his property at nighttime. So I was leaving for work at about 2:30 in the afternoon and getting home from work between 6 and 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd go to bed, get up, and start the whole thing over again. That was just for the first 30 days. And I used Highway 34 to get home. So I would leave work on Philomath Boulevard, travel down to Highway 34, go Highway 34 to Riverside Road, and then take Riverside Road to the farm where I charged. I'd get there about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, depending. And then I'd leave there about 5:30 with 70% power in my scooter to make it the rest of the distance to where I live. In that time, I'd had 2 days that I was off, once over the fact that my hands were severely swollen and broken out over a sanitizer at work. And the second time, I'd eaten something and I ended up throwing up, and I'm not supposed to go to work when I throw up. So that was the first 30 days. For the second 30 days, I ended up one day traveling home from work. It was raining real bad, and my bike or scooter slipped out from underneath me, and I ended up hurting my arm. So I went to urgent care and got a doctor's note, called into work for 2 days. The second time was also rainy, but it was on a day off. I hit a curb of a sidewalk and didn't know the scooter wouldn't go over it, and it threw me off, and I twisted my ankle. So I ended up calling in to work for 2 days on that one. In this time, I discovered that taking Highway 20 instead of Highway 34 was shorter. It was only like 13 and some miles, but a lot of it has uphills on it. So the scooter would only do about 10 to 11 of the miles before I had to charge. And I found a church that I could charge at. So I ended up within the first 60 days with 4 points, because each absence is 4 points, and all of them over medical with a doctor's note. And now for the screwed up part of day 61 through 90. So for the next and last part, there was a gentleman at where I lived who worked in Independence and told me that he would pick me up Monday through Friday if I worked at Hewlett Packard in Corvallis. So when I got off work, I would just take my scooter the whole 7.6 miles to the Hewlett Packard, and he would pick me up at about between 3 and 5, depending on which day it was, to go home. So actually I was getting home earlier, about 5, 6 in the morning, than still taking the bus to work. On the weekends, however, I was still taking the full distance on the scooter home. Well, I think it was around the 70th day I was working. I was coming home on the scooter. It was a Saturday night, or Sunday morning, I should say. And there's certain areas on Highway 20 where vehicles behind you sound like they're in front of you. So when I heard a semi, I thought, honestly, that the semi was coming towards me. And there's a bunch of lights in front of me, so it could have been. When the semi was probably about 15 feet behind me, it honked its horn. I turned around and saw a semi approaching, and I'm in the safety lane or bike lane, whichever you want to call it. And he's like just barely over the line into where I'm at. And he honks his horn. I end up swerving on my scooter, almost going over the embankment. Ended up jumping off and sliding across the ground, falling. And ended up severely twisting my side and ankle and my left arm. So I went to urgent care and got like 4 or 5 days off work from that. And at that point I decided I ain't doing this whole trek home. This is a suicide run. So I talked to Albany Helping Hands, and I ended up getting permission to stay in Corvallis from when I worked Friday night to Saturday morning, Sunday morning, or Saturday morning to Sunday morning, and then Sunday morning, or Monday morning, Sunday night to Monday morning, and then I'd take the bus back. I found a church in Corvallis where I could go and I could actually charge. They had Wi-Fi, and they didn't mind people being there. They had that oven and everything else. I could cook food if I needed to. And I met a gentleman who ended up saying, hey, if you need to, I can set up a tent for you out in the forest and you could stay there. So I ended up getting permission from Helping Hands to be up here on those days. And I had a place I could legitimately be at. So Monday through Friday when I worked, I had a ride from here at Packard, which wasn't too bad. It gets cold at night, so I'd always have blankets. And then on the weekends, I had a place I could go to that was safe, or sleep in a tent if I wanted to, for the weekends. And so for 90 days, I ended up with being out of work for 5 absences. Well, right around day 86, I ended up getting kicked out of Albany Helping Hands for a rumor that wasn't true. I go to work. I was never there, and how people can sit there and blame me for stuff that wasn't me, I will never get. But I ended up getting kicked out of Helping Hands. Shortly before that, I had some help buying a 1998 Chevy Blazer that was parked in front of Helping Hands. The battery was dead on it, and I needed to get gas in it. So I ended up getting up to Corvallis so that I could still go to work while I figured out what I was going to do. Well, on the 25th of last month, I got a call from Helping Hands that if I didn't make it to Helping Hands by 4 o'clock that afternoon, they were going to tow my vehicle. So I looked at the clock. It's like 1:30 in the afternoon. I figured I could take the loop bus down there. I can get somebody to jump me. I can get it back up here, no issue. Well, so I hop on my little scooter. I head down to catch the loop bus. And Western and 30th, as I was approaching that stop sign, I saw a red truck approaching, but I figured he's going to stop at a stop sign. You know, I can make it through. Well, he didn't stop, and he hit me. My whole left side of the body was completely inflamed. I was in so much pain. But I had to get to Albany Helping Hands so I could get my vehicle, so that it wasn't towed and get it to where I live. I ended up getting the gentleman to give me a ride. And I didn't even think about getting any information from him. He was nice enough to give me a ride. That's all I could think of. Get my car, bring it here. But my whole left side is completely in absolute miserable pain. Sitting hurt, standing hurt. Nothing stopped the pain. I get the vehicle jumped, but I didn't let it sit long enough. I wanted to get back here. I was in so much pain. As I was leaving Albany, the truck ended up dying again. I had 3 people try to jump it. We couldn't figure out where to put a negative into it, so I couldn't get it jumped. I was in so much pain, I called into work, which gives me my 6th point. I get to work on Monday with my doctor's note, which shows that I'm asked to be off work for an entire week. So I think I was actually more like 70 days, because when I returned to work the first time, it was literally 6 days until my 90th day, and I was given a write-up for 6 points, all due to medical, and I couldn't get a 7th, or I was going to be fired before 90 days. So I think I got hit by the truck at like around 78 or 79. So now I'm sitting here. Got 7 or 6 points at work, all for medical. I got to make it to June 2nd. That's all I had to do, make it to June 2nd, and I have my 90 days. Well, I ended up making it to 90 days. I worked that Monday. I had Tuesday off, and then I worked Wednesday. Well, before Wednesday's work, a friend of mine comes to me, and she tells me that she just sold her vehicle, her ID was stolen, and would I be nice enough to go cash a check for her? Didn't think anything wrong of it, you know. Looked at the check, my name on it, told her that's how it had to be. Looked completely valid, an Oregon State University or credit union check. We go to Aces in Albany, Oregon. And I go in with my ID to cash this check for her. And about a half hour later, the cops come in, take me out, and tell me the check is a forged check. I end up getting a charge for forgery in the 1st degree. And of course, she disappears. I'm for sure thinking I'm going to jail. This is a felony charge. There ain't no way I'm getting out of this. I let work know that I'm not going to be there. And they tell me, well, this will be your 7th absence. So if you aren't to work tonight, we're going to have to terminate you. All because 6 of my points are in medical. I end up begging and pleading with the cop. The cop gets assurance that I'll be in court on the day that I have to go to court. And I spend $180 of my food stamps to get somebody to drive me to work so that I can be at work. I end up an hour and a half late to work. I had Thursday and Friday off, and in that time, I'm sitting there trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to fucking do. I'm living in a tent because I got kicked out of Albany Helping Hands. I'm pretty much out of food stamps. And in the 48 hours before I had to go back to work, I somehow or another misplaced my jacket and my hat. So here it comes. I'm supposed to be going to work. I got to be there at 8 o'clock. Look everywhere I possibly could think of for my hat and jacket. Can't find it anywhere. End up going to work. And I get suspended because I can't find my hat. They didn't have any spares that work. And because it's the 7th absence, because you're supposed to have your uniform, if you don't have it and they don't have replacement, you get sent home, I'm suspended. And it's just not fair. It's not right. The shit that I've done to keep this job is something nobody else would do. And it's fucked up.